Hey everybody, this video is going to be a little bit different than usual. I get a lot of people asking me to kind of do a walkthrough of how do I make a arrangement for the mountain dulcimer. And it's a little bit of a tricky thing to make a video about because one of the first things I have to do is I have to make sure that a song is going to fit on the mountain dulcimer. There are some songs where you just simply can't play them because there's notes that the dulcimer doesn't have. And so by the time I've actually worked out that a song works on the dulcimer, I've often already started working on the arrangement, and so it's really difficult for me to document that from the beginning. And so today I've got kind of a unique opportunity. It is currently Monday morning, December the 30th, and I usually release my videos on Wednesday morning, and I figured I would do Auld Lang Syne. I thought it through a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's going to work on the dulcimer, but I have not actually touched it at all on the instrument, and I wanted to take you guys through that whole process. So I'm just going to change the angle of the camera so you can see what I'm doing, and then we'll jump right into it. First things first, we're establishing our tonality. Here's our key. Now, I have been doing this for a long time, and I've developed some skills of hearing notes in my head. So I know before I even start that the first two notes in the piece are should auld, so do, where do is the first and last note of the key, right? Right. So knowing that, we can start off with, so that's where we're going to start. From here, I just kind of start picking through the melody. I'm listening for two things. I'm listening for where does the melody go. I'm listening for where does the chord change. In general, I'm a rock and roll guy, so I like to have my bass string kind of follow what's going on. So if I'm playing a G chord, I want to have a G in my bass. You don't always have to do that. This is one of the things I'm trying to grow through, but this is still my starting point always. So here we go. We've got this first bit of melody. I know it's going to go down just a little bit. Okay, and again, I've never done this on the dulcimer, but I've done this enough to know where those little leaps come. If we're moving by step, like this. If we're moving by leap. Or what. But the important thing is just that you work it out. Like, I will miss some of these. And we just figure it out. So here we go. Now, as I land on this next one, I know the melody is going here, but this doesn't really fit in this chord. If I'm playing this drone style, it's no big deal. Right, I can do that with drone style, and it's not a big deal at all, but if I want to change the chord, okay, so here I am. I don't know where this is going to be yet. A good option is going to be either your G or your A, so we'll try it. It's a little bit weird. That feels a little bit better. So we got D right there. Going to an A chord. I can do the full thing if I don't want to have a drone. Oh, but that one is a little bit crunchy to try to get that melody in, so may not be the best option. So what are we going to do instead? Well, here's one thing I like to do. Anytime I'm going to a big A chord, I like to lead into it with an E minor chord. In jazz, they call that a 2-5, and that's just coming from the idea that we've got, as you're moving through the key, you've got a 1 chord, a 2 chord, a 3 chord, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to the 1 chord again as you repeat. A little bit different for us because we call this a 0 fret, 1 fret, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7. But as far as, you don't really need to know all of that. The idea is, though, that this E minor to A is a really nice, very pleasant bit of voice leading. So if I try that here, we've got that didn't quite work. Where did that need to go? Okay, so now we're getting into a good melody, but man, this stretch feels weird. Let me try an inversion. I know I said I like to have my bass always doing what it's doing here, but let me see what happens if I go like... Wow, that's a lot of shifting that I don't necessarily want to do. So let's see. So that might be an option, to move that melody up to that middle string. I don't know. I don't love that. I think I'm just gonna leave it with this kind of open A chord. Really all it is just, it's not even a chord at all, it's just A's. An A plus an E here. So it's this kind of open, empty power chord, really. No different than that. So I think I'm gonna leave it right there because it's not bad. I may, that's the whole thing. I'll come back to these things as I'm going through, as I'm developing. So I don't want to get too bogged down on one thing. So and here it feels like it's going to change again, and always my best bet is to go to either the G or the A. I know that that's not going to work, so I'm going to go, yeah, that nice G chord is going to sound great. A just kind of sounded crunchy and not quite what we wanted. So okay, now if I wanted a little bit of motion here, I could add in a bass note as I'm going, and I come to this note, which is just going up through the chord. So I could kind of have the bass trail, because I know it's going to eventually land on G. So if I have it play the F sharp, then we get this. So yeah, we've landed here. My brain really wants there to be movement on that chord where it sits. So I may have to revisit that. I don't know. I'll figure that out. Oops. Yep, it's that 2/5 again. Same thing as before. And here's where it gets tricky, because in my ear, I want to go up to this minor chord here, but just trying to figure out, that's actually not bad. Sometimes you may have to grab some different inversions to really bring that melody out, but here, yeah, and then once again we got that 2/5. So I think that brings us through the basics of the melody. And here on this G, I'm grabbing the D note on the A string. You could leave it open if you want that drone. I fret that just so we don't get that little bit of dissonance. I love dissonance, but you can't have it all the time, otherwise it loses its power. Where's it go to that? Yeah. So we get the basic thing down. Now we're just going to be looking for places where we can make it interesting, where we can make it a little bit more fleshed out and fancy, and definitely that that long note in the middle of So next we're going to be looking at places where we can flesh it out a little bit, and I'm definitely going to be targeting that long note at the end of the first phrase. So we've got right here. Now what am I hearing? I don't know. Let's see. And it's going to be hard to grab that unless I let go of the melody. Oh, that could be okay if that lands there. Ah, that could be really nice. Unfortunately, I can't hold on to this the whole time. Yeah. So this is where now I'm just kind of listening and letting my ear kind of guide where I'm going. Still feels really awkward. I'm wondering if I should just do that, leave that as a G chord rather than going to do the 2-5. Okay. I don't hate that. And it simplifies too, because if I grab this shape and then just move the shape as much as I can, if I can do that, if all things are equal and I can just grab and hold the same shape, I'm going to do that, so that way I'm not having to rotate my wrist around to find different strings and things like that. Okay, so we're here. Ah, I missed it. Yeah. Okay. We could argue that's done right where it is, but it doesn't feel to me like it's, I don't know. In my head, the word that I'm looking for is sparkling. I want this to sparkle. I want it to have something that is unique about it, something that's interesting. And so I'm wondering what happens if I change the key. Now in the dulcimer, especially if you've got a diatonic dulcimer or a mostly diatonic dulcimer, this one does have the 6.5. Our options are kind of limited on where we can change key to, but what we can do is we can go from D to G. So we could do oops. Oops, I don't need to do that because D is now the 5. So if I'm doing 2-5 here, woohoo! What am I doing? Oh, nope, not that. It's yeah, I'm gonna have to put the melody on the A string to do this. I think so. I'm not sure if I love this. I don't know. I may have to noodle on that a little bit, but we do have the first part. Inversion, let's see if that makes it easier for me. And then from there, I just got to figure out an ending, and so what I just tried to do was use a deceptive cadence where it feels like you're supposed to be going back to 1, back to the root of your chord, but instead you're going to the relative minor, which is 2 steps down. The problem is that if I just use this, it lacks the punch. So I'm going to have to be careful and maybe not. Actually, I don't like that. So in a lot of older tunes, you can really get a lot of impact by swapping in the minor chord for your root. So in this case, since we're playing in G, if I throw in the E minor instead of the G, then it gives us a big turnaround. Here it's just not hitting for me, so I don't know. My go-to is always to see if I can find some cool moving part to and that's tricky when you're in a different key that's not D with all the open strings, because now you got to deal with all of this. So that might be it. I mean, that's reasonable enough. So we'll see if I can get the whole thing together here. Obviously I'll practice it a little bit to get it a little bit more seamless for my actual video, but here we go. Then along those lines. One thing I did not talk through, because I just did it, is to get from the key of D into that key of G. The one thing that I did is I walked down from, we've got our D in the root in our original chord. I added at the 6th fret, it's this flat 7, and what that does is it sets the stage to land as that G now as our tonic, as our home chord. Whereas before we had this, right now D is our home chord, add that flat 7, sorry, on the 6th fret, and it sets this up really nicely. So if you're looking for a really, really easy key change, hitting that C natural, whether it's here or it's just really, really easy way to change key, and then you're just playing the same song a second time. So, all right, I hope this has been beneficial. It's always hard to describe your process, especially when you've done so many things, and my brain does a lot of things just automatically without me even thinking about it. If you have questions, put those in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer to the best of my ability. Some of these things you just have to work through and figure out. And just because I can do it quickly doesn't mean that I'm better at anything. I've just been doing it for a really long time. And there's people out there who can do it faster than me. So I hope this has been beneficial for you, and we will continue with regular videos as we go. Thanks.